get started. Everyone, this is the Voice Actor Roundtable, and let's give a big round of applause. Everybody having a good time. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Is everyone having a good time? Does everyone love our guests?
He's not here. It's all about Micah.
It's all about Micah today.
You broke him!
Okay, we're gonna get started. You guys, how do you guys want to proceed? Does everyone know our guests? No one needs to introduce themselves or anything like that, right?
Yeah, shall we go through intros?
Let's introduce ourselves. Okay.
Fine. Good. It's not morning anymore.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Christopher Bevins. I'm primarily a voice director, but that's not what this panel is about. So, as a voice actor, you might know me as Japan in Italia, Apollo in Aquarion, Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, Dulcim in Street Fighter IV, and numerous stupid bandit types in Borderlands 2 that you can shoot in the face and such. And yeah, other stuff.
Christopher Ayers, very much like Christopher Bevins, ADR director, ADR writer, but this panel is about voice acting, so a couple of the things I've done, Choji Swatangu in Speedgrapher. I do that first, I'm sitting next to you. Isaac Fernando Van Comfer in Trinity Blood. Prince Soma in Black Butler. King Corono in Gantz. King Corono in Gantz, there was something else that I was missing. I'm getting there. Mayor Corset in Panty and Stocking. And of course Lord Frieza in Dragon Ball Z Kai.
I'm sitting next to Lord Frieza. Oh my god, don't kill me. Lauren Landa, I play Lai Chi Fei Ling in the Blaze Blue games. Kasumi in Dead or Alive 5. Yon Leisha in Soul Calibur 5. A lot of 5s, I've noticed. Kyoko Sakura in Madoka Magica. I got a lot of squeeze, yay. Let's see, Arfin Chrono Harlown in Magical Girl Lyrical Nanaha, Kirke in Familiar of Zero, and Little Queen in Tales of Graces, and so much other stuff! Yeah.
I'm Tom Whalen, and I do a lot of directing also, but as an actor, I've been in a bunch of stuff. I play literally dozens and dozens of Pokemon creatures. And I've played several humans in that show too. I've been in all of the incarnations of the Yu-Gi-Ohs. My most prominent character was Crow in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. And I was in Ninja Turtles. I was the main bad guy in that. I was Storm Shadow in G.I. Joe. And recently I've been doing a lot of video games. I was in and directed the only video game made for the Dark Knight Rises movie. I just directed and played two main bad guys in the Iron Man 3 game. And there's a new game coming out. It's a mobile game called Gangstar Vegas, which is hilarious. I play a guy named E-Man, and he's a drug dealer, and it's great.
My name is Monica Riel, and I'm not a Pokemon.
Pokemon!
Pokemon! Right? I'm doing it on purpose. Geez, guys, I've done a lot of anime. I really do sound like this. I'm sorry. I play Bulma in Dragon Ball Z Kai. Well, I'm here this weekend, though, to promote Michiko and Hanshin.
Or should I say, I'm here to promote Michiko and Hanshin.
And I've done a whole lot of other stuff. This is where I feel like a deer in headlights, because there's a lot. So, yay!
Hello everyone. Oh God, I'm so terrible at this. My name is David Matranga. I'm a voice actor, and I also do a lot of stage work as well, some on-camera stuff. Yeah, I was Tamoya and Clannad, all those. Briario's and all the Appleseed stuff, the two movies, as well as the series that's just been is about to be released as well. And so yeah, things like that. You know, back in the day, the Sanzo and Sayuki and Orphan. So thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. It's good to see all you guys. Thanks.
Hey guys, I'm Zach Bolton. Mostly I do direction, Shin-Chan, Soul Eater, Darker Than Black, amongst many others. But voice credits, Soul Eater, I play Hero, Black Butler, Pluto the dog. I do a lot of critters and animals, Troy and Fairy Tale, Baron and Aquarian, some video game work on Borderlands 2, and yeah.
Awesome.
I'm Craig Ayers, and I play Amy Winehouse in real life. No, I'm kidding. I've been doing this. It's kind of like Monica. I don't know where to start. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm really lucky. I get to play some really cool little guys. Most recently, Gatia Igarashi in Dead Man Wonderland. I get to play the main character in a really sad but awesome movie called Colorful. You should check it out. It just came out. Older roles include Sayuki, Son Goku, and Chrono and Chrono Crusade, Negi Springfield, and a bunch of other stuff. Oh, one of the two squirrely twins in Oran High School Host Club. And I'll talk to you when my hearing returns now.
And I think we're gonna Q&A.
So yeah, again.
You have to have an A for us. You have to have a Q for us to have an A.
Yes, true.
All right, yeah, so just raise your hand. I saw you first.
Rack first.
Good idea.
So, how do you guys see the current state of the industry in anime? Where are things going, and what can we, the fans, do to support you to provide us more of what we want?
That's a good question to start with. Wow. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Everybody look down the row at me. Actually, things have been really great in the last 2 or 3 years. The anime industry's on a real upswing right now. I don't know whether it's to be blamed on one thing or the other. I think both the American distributors as well as the Japanese are starting to get more friendly with the idea of streaming media. We have a new total direct-to-fan market now that we can have people download things directly from places like iTunes and the Xbox Live Marketplace and the PlayStation Network and whatnot. So we're not having to rely on retailers like Best Buy and Walmart to move product anymore. I've just recently read, a few years ago, we had like 3 studios in Japan close and whatnot. The cool thing is Gonzo is the first studio to start hiring new animators. So there's visible signs of growth in Japan, as well as I know that all of us that are in the industry have noticed an increase in work we're doing right now. So as far as what fans can do, stay educated on what's going on. Make sure you read ANN and see what's going on in the anime community. Also, become involved with people like KeepAnimeAlive.com and bootlegfree.org. There are a lot of fans that are actually making a huge difference in the struggle to keep the anime industry in the black and not in the red. So if you want to find me later, I can give you more information on some of those organizations, definitely. What about you, Tom? You work in different areas.
Yeah, what you're saying is all true, and it's because especially a lot of the big change away from DVDs to streaming. Anime is also in Japan. Things are changing because it's produced for a world market now, not just for Japan. And then people import it when they make things. The international market is what they have in mind, and with the stream, it actually makes that even easier to get things out even faster. So things are going well. It's really a no-brainer. What can you do to help? Don't steal things from people. Like literally, that's it's a very basic, simple thing. and continue to give it your support, because people 8,000 miles away in Japan, they hear you, and if you want the programming, they're going to want us to have it, and things are better, and it's been a long time, I think, since you could honestly say that things are better, and especially I see with, you guys are booming in Houston, and it hasn't been that way in a while, and things, Dallas is kicking ass, New York, we're still doing all sorts of work, and and in LA, and it is more of a world market. The Japanese stuff is made more for international. The American stuff is made more like the Japanese stuff.
It's also
it's all coming together.
It's like Greg used to say in his panel. It isn't a Japanese industry and an American industry anymore. It's one industry.
Yeah.
The industries are working so closely together that it really is, like you said, a world market.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I mean, what Tom said as well is I've been lucky enough to be involved in some projects and working directly over in Tokyo, doing some mocap work for stuff, and it's so true that the industry is not what you just said, Japan or American markets anymore. I mean, they are very cognizant of wanting these things to be more global, right from the beginning. So that's really encouraging and exciting for all of us.
Good answers. Good question.
You guys want me to pick, or do you want to pick?
What?
You pick.
You're saying that it's going for a more global market. Have you found that the stories, let's say jokes or whatever, the stories are more aimed towards the worldwide audience, or are they still culturally specific?
Well, there are certain types of shows. Shows that, to be completely blunt, are about selling toys. They are definitely done with a Western market in mind. There are certain things that you used to see in some of these series in early seasons that you don't see anymore, in later years. Like Team Rocket having guns, things like that, that suddenly then they don't. And it's one of those things, because that suddenly, when some of these series are started, the people in Japan have no idea that it's going to be this massive, giant, worldwide thing. And when it becomes that, then they're not just making it for the Japanese audience anymore, So
it's somewhat...
In certain types of shows, like the ones that are really aimed at mass marketing and merchandising, you're going to see a change a little more in some of those. But the other ones that are more plot and story oriented.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on each creator. It depends. Chris and I were just saying, it depends on each creator. Each creator is going to tell their own story their own way. They're going to be aware of the world.
But the nice thing is too, is because the industry is back on an upswing, you're starting to see those studios take more chances and take more risks with the kinds of stories they're going to tell. 3-4 years ago, a show like one called Fujiko Mine never would have come out. Because, as the industry here and there had gone through a bit of a contraction, which means they're just putting out the stuff that they know is going to always sell. Panties and movies.
Panties and movies.
And that's cool. But now we're starting to see more shows that tell different kinds of stories and have those different kinds of risks.
Right.
Well, and there's actually, I'm starting to see, even within the animation, call-outs to things in Western culture. In Negima, there's clearly I think it's in Notika's room, there is a Cartman doll on the shelf. And there is a South Park joke that is animated into the show at one point where they look like the kids waiting for the bus. So I think that just because, I don't think that it's more of a westernization. I think that things that we have happening in the US are also cultural phenomena like South Park, and that gets there, and so those naturally work their way into shows too.
Sometimes it's case by case thing. It's not really one or the other. Another question?
How much do you love your jobs?
I hate it. It's terrible. No.
Except when I have to sit up here with these people, I love it.
There you go.
No, I love it.
I'd really rather be answering telephones in an office, but I'll take it.
I would like to see the sun a little bit more.
Yes.
Apparently, my doctor said that my vitamin D is very low. You get that from sunlight because, in most studios, no windows because they let in sound as well as light. So, yeah, I love it, except I need a sun lamp or something, but I love it.
That's job number one.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Are we picking people or is Joe picking
I
people?
think somebody else.
Yeah,
I
you guys
can.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Because it all goes up at the same time, guys, and we're like,
What do you find you characters have in common? Like, I've noticed for Vic Mignogna's characters, it's mainly stubbornness. And with Todd Habercorn, most of his characters have like big appetites. It's just something that...
I play a lot of bad guys, so I guess meanness.
Yeah, I'm bad guys and sidekicks almost exclusively. So yes, I have a second banana quality about me, I guess.
I tend to always get cast as someone who's internally conflicted and has got some inner pain that's happening and is trying to work it out.
David, when you do that, I'm going to say this, I've said this before on panels. You've got a quality that when you play when you play those conflicted characters that are filled with pain, the pain is almost tangible because of the acting. Because of the acting.
Thanks.
And it's really wonderful. I think that's why you get that a lot.
Would someone care to explain why I play all the 5-year-old psycho?
I don't.
As for my characters, boobs. It's true.
I've played a lot of villains lately. Some of you may be familiar with Zorin Blitz from Hellsing Ultimate. She's a bitch, to say the least. And I don't know if anybody watched Kaijudo, Rise of the Duel Masters on the Hub. I play Empress Megaria. So my character's either said, thank goodness for Fang because she kind of balances it all out. But she's also not exactly happy-go-lucky either. Between that and women in the military go, I need a medic! And then the villainesses that I play are also, they don't just cause physical harm, they do psychological damage, which is, yeah. I knew a lot of girls growing up like that, so maybe I had a nice frame of reference. It is awfully fun to play a villain, but it's nice to be able to separate from that at the end of the day.
I play a lot of dogs.
Yeah, you do.
Kind of big dogs, barking. Yeah. Typically if it has fur on its face and it speaks words, it's Chris Kaysen. But if it just barks, it's me. So that's kind of the general rule.
I play either scrappy little kids or wimps, and I love playing wimps because I in real life have a hockey temper, so I love playing little crybaby wimps. Yeah.
See, Greg, I loved you as Chrono. I thought Chrono was absolutely adorable.
I would put Chrono in the scrappy division though. He's pretty scrappy and silly.
But then he turns into a demon. His demon form is
his
totally
demon form
badass.
is awesome. I wish I had that 24-pack ab set he gets.
Right?
I love beer and cheese way too much for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, maybe two, what was your favorite anime that you worked on, and what character did you prefer to be the voice of? A good guy or a bad guy?
Favorite anime that we've worked on?
I like all of them. I mean, you certainly have roles that are a lot of fun. I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say I would be lying if I did not say I had a blast playing Frieza. But at the same time, I had an amazing time playing Arthur and Tears to Tiara. So thank you. And just to answer your question, I love playing villains. I do.
So there's two shows I'll pimp for you real quick. These are shows that I worked on a long time ago that nobody knows anything about, and they're my favorite shows I ever worked on. One is called Now and Then, Here and There.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and it's very very serious, and it's actually quite disturbing, but it's fantastic. I love it. And the other show is a show called The Ping Pong Club, which is totally lowbrow comedy, bathroom humor, and it's hilarious and brilliant. Those are some of my most favorite things I ever worked on. And one other thing, which is a short one, which if you saw in my intro video, I used a clip from it. It's totally a yokai thing. It's called Kakarenbo. It's a 25-minute horror short about kids playing hide and seek, and it's fantastic. And I have to say, and here's my my blunt mercenary answer. Villains are way more fun to play. Heroes usually book more hours. Yeah. So there's kind of a little of each there.
Very true.
Just a short answer on that. I'm usually attracted to the story and the relationship. That's the thing that just gets me going. So for me, it's my favorite characters usually end up being where there's some type of strong loyalty or a conflicted relationship. So I would say like Tomoya and Clannada's, just his journey is, that whole relationship is just pretty amazing. And then Briarios is one of my favorite characters as well, just because of the loyalty that he and Dunin have it's palpable. So.
Oh, you just like it because there's no flaps.
I do like it because there's no flaps. And he's just a badass cyborg. It's awesome.
Two of my favorites are, Madoka Magica. That's, again, because it's such an awesome show. Beautiful show. Chris is in the middle of watching it, actually.
I'm watching it right now.
And my second favorite is actually an anime film that I had a blast working on. It's called Redline. Anybody heard of it? It's a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous film. Took 7 years to make, 100% hand-drawn. The music is technical difficulties, table difficulties. And the movie is fantastic. It's only 90 minutes long. If you are a true animation fan, whether it's anime, American, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's awesome. It's a fantastic movie, so I would recommend seeing it. Pimping. Monica, do you have two favorite animations?
I normally don't answer that because it's like picking your favorite baby.
Right?
Exactly.
And I have so many, but I will say that now that it's been announced and everything, Michiko and Hachen is one of those shows that is so different than anything I've ever done, and the voice is so different than anything I've ever done. And I got to get in touch with my Latino roots and my Houston roots. So that was really fun. So that one I would say check out.
Do I have a favorite? Actually my favorite character that I played is Hellsing in Street Fighter, because it is so easy on my voice compared to everyone else. It's a fighting game. You go in for 4-6 hours and just scream. Except Hellsing, he's all zen and really he's so chill that while Taliesin Jaffe, who directed Street Fighter, he also played Blanca. He could only do Blanca for half an hour to an hour at a time before he was coughing up blood. And I go in you sure you don't want me to do another one? You're not okay? You're not hurting? No, I'm fine. You want another one? Yeah, because it is all down in here in this very low place in my voice. So when you open up your throat that far, it does not hurt when you yell. Right? It's true.
Wait. These guys are all veterans, and I'm in complete awe of them. I have but one anime to my resume, but it's a really good one. So
it's Hellsing Ultimate, come on.
Yeah, and of course, what are you playing? A Nazi vampire.
And I'm sure your family was just like, oh, I can't wait to see it, Rachel. When are we going to see it?
Will I ever see this? Never. Will it ever be on TV? No. Well, what's it about? Death and destruction and necrophilia, and no, you'll never see it. And Taliesin also directed me on that. He's such a wonderful, intuitive, helpful, can paint amazing pictures that he made my job so easy. And I didn't have to do as much screaming as you think, except for when I'm about to destroy everything. And I got to chant in Latin, which was really cool because I took Latin in high school. I was one of those people. I knew it would come in handy someday.
Okay, now we're ready.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm very honored to meet you all, especially you, Greg Ayers.
Ah.
I gotta say, gotta say it's very nice meeting one of the members of the host club. I'm a fan.
Might I add that he is one of my favorite members of the host club. I mean, the twins. Come on, you can't get over the twins.
My own question to you is, how does one person, when they're all finished with with their own story, can be published?
It's really cool you asked that because two of my dear friends are both mangaka and they're storytellers. How many of you are fans of the show Invader Zim? So the voice of Gur is played by my dear friend Ricky Simons. He and his wife are both writers and artists, and they were published by Tokyo Pop once upon a time. They've had a fantastic result selling directly to fans lately. So I would say find a way, create a website, get your story up, or get your story available if you don't want to sell it at first, if you want to make your story available for free. I would take precautions to copyright what you have. But shopping what you do to lots of people is great, but if you find that there's no buyers, try selling directly to the audience that you're pitching to, or try finding that audience on the internet. The internet, I think you and I just talked about this, the internet's such a fascinating place because just like the guys that do Homestar Runner, that was just a fun little website that ended up turning into this monstrous entity, and all of the people associated with it have gone on to do lots of other projects as well. So work on your craft and then work on finding your audience, and that's the best advice I can give you. And like I said, they've done wonderful, like when one of the cool things about a direct market, and this ties back to how the industry is doing, one of the great things about that is you can actually see when your stuff is purchased. If you produce something for Tokyo Pop, you just hope for the best as far as sales are concerned. But like when Ricky and Tabby go out on a speaking engagement, they see a trickle of sales from that state, and they know that they've reached a few more people. So definitely work on what you do, and then work on finding the audience for what you do. And the internet's an awesome place. I can't say enough good about it. So, thank you.
I just want to know, like, what was your favorite part about like voice acting and everything? And I'm sorry, I'm a huge Pokemon lover. I just want to know, Tom, who, do you do Charizard?
Do what?
You do Charizard.
Charizard. Charizard is, it's the Japanese actor. I do Charmander, though.
Do you really?
No, I can't. I honestly, I can't. Yeah, because I can't. Because, listen, it's a legal thing. I can't. I know. But if you'd really like to hear me do Charmander, go buy the Pokepark game. Each of you, please. Yeah, Charizard, we maintain the Japanese with a certain amount of the creatures, especially if the name does not change from Japanese to English, there's often no need to re-record it, you know? So we keep it because they're really good at what they do. So it's nice that, you know. Anyway, and favorite part of voice acting is I don't have to cut my hair.
We've all been talking
I will
about
agree
his
with you
hair.
on that.
We've all been talking about his hair throughout the entire week, and it's like, how is it so shiny?
really bald.
How is it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love his hair.
What was it you said you washed it in the blood of your enemies?
Exactly.
That's what you said last year. No, anybody else?
Favorite
I would
part?
say my favorite part of being a voice actor has nothing to do with the job itself, it's this. My favorite thing about being a voice actor is connecting with people that watch the work we do. David and I were talking about that at lunch. When you do a stage play or something, even though the reaction is instant, you never get the level of feedback on your work that you do with meeting people who watch it and finding fans that love it and hate it. That's just as much fun some days. Dramatic readings of the internet can be fun at parties. But also meeting people and making friends all over the country. I've said before, because of my travels and conventions, I could get in my car any day of the week and drive to any state, and it doesn't matter what state my car broke down in. I've got friends there, and that's something that you can't put a price tag on at all. So.
Oh, that's a good answer. I don't think anybody can top that. That's a good answer.
Give me like a Briario cyborg suit, like I probably would wear it around. But yeah. Anyway.
You can get into that though when you play like a tough guy or something, and you've got that thing going for it. I mean, it's like an adrenaline kick, whatever. If you have that rush when you're in the booth and you're doing it, it takes time to come down off of that. It really does sometimes.
If you're a bigger guy, trust me.
If you're
I think I can beat people up.
Well, I'm not saying that you're going to big fights, but sometimes literally if you have, whether it's like some endorphin rush or something, from doing this character that you really dig, it takes time to come down off that high. For theater people, when you finish a show and you kick some ass, whoo, you gotta you can't go right to bed, you gotta hang. Right. So sometimes that does happen for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you're working on something that's emotionally draining, or that you really have to go to a dark place, or even, a crazy place, you can't help but, because the point of it is to truthfully tell that story, you go there on some level. And yeah, it does take some time to come down from that, or it can influence the next couple of hours of your life or whatever. But as far as going out, and doing that as some type of experiment or something, it's just never anything that's ever crossed my mind.
It's almost like vocal muscle memory. Is that like I've broken Monica a couple times. Poor Monica had to go and after Zorin Blitz had to go and squeak a little bit for somebody afterwards, and that's very difficult. Ian Sinclair also came to me after recording on Toriko. When he's on Toriko, he's all in. I'm like, yeah, but I need you to sound like a wussy teenager today. Yeah, okay.
And I have a slightly different take on that, where I think a lot of the characters that you end up playing are voices that you're already kind of doing anyway. A more ridiculous example of that, because I do play a lot of animals, and I talk to my dog like he's people. So I'm at home going, and then I take it to the booth, but then I'm going back home and doing the same thing that I was doing before I got there.
Recently I've noticed that there's been a lot of 3 to 15 minute short shows that are coming up from Japan, and I was wondering if those are going to translate over to the American market, do you think? If there's any, a lot of younger guys are getting chances to start doing directing and stuff on those, so I was wondering if there are any particular content creators or anything that you're looking forward to that are coming up in the next generation that you want to do voices for or something?
Well, one thing I can say about short runtime, it's an American market thing. Look at all the shows, Adventure Time, regular show. SpongeBob was one of the first ones to do it. Went from a half-hour show in the United States is 22 minutes, and those are 11-minute format shows. So that is a big thing. Like when people are pitching new shows, shorter is better, and that is something, being that we talked about world market, that will, to some degree, bleed over to Europe and Asia when they're making their shows. For the American market, you might start to see anime programs coming in at an 11-minute, target time. But as far as specific creators, do you have anything?
I'm not sure who's. I tend not to look ahead. I'm usually so buried in what I'm working on currently that I don't have time to look ahead. They say, this is your new show, and I start researching. So I don't know. I know that if Nabashin puts anything out, I definitely would love to have a hand in it, because I love working on his stuff. I've done 2 of his shows, so.
Let's go over here. We haven't seen one.
Hi. When you're doing an anime, it's sort of aimed toward David, but when you're doing an anime and that there's a really sad scene in it, is it hard to do that scene?
Well, I know for Kyoko in Madoka, she ends up, spoiler alert, she ends up sacrificing herself, and during that she, sorry Chris.
I know a lot about what's coming.
Okay, cool. And she has this inner monologue to herself, and she's basically, she's speaking to herself, but she's also talking to God too. And she says, just let me have just one happy ending, at least one happy ending. And oh yeah, I was crying like a baby in the booth. It can be tough. It can be absolutely challenging, especially if you're in an emotional mood that day. If you're having a really crappy day, and if you have a really sad scene, you can totally lose it. I know Taliesin is known for bringing very emotional scenes out of the best emotional scenes out of people, because he knows how to just get underneath their skin just to bring that right emotion out, and it's fantastic.
All family died in a plane crash. Okay, now think about it.
Yeah.
No, I will say it was funny when we did FTL Memories and FTL Melodies, and I will just say, if you haven't seen it, I'm just gonna go on record and say that cast that includes Greg and David and Monica is probably just one of the most phenomenal experiences I've had as a director. But one of the actresses in the show, Carly Mosier, in Tale of Melodies, has this really long monologue that is just heartbreaking. And by the time we finished it, and she did it in 2 takes, but by the time she finished the second take, she fell apart in the booth. We had to stop recording for about 10 minutes so that she could pull herself together. And it freaked her out. She had never had to go to that kind of place in the studio. She's done it on stage. And she came out, and I know she called Chris Patton and Lucy and several other people that she had her phone, and she goes, oh my God, I just fell apart in the booth. Is that okay? I don't know what I was out of control. And everything, no, we've all done it. We've all been there at some point where, you just hit that moment of honesty.
And the voice is just a means of expressing what's going on inside. So you have to. So in those difficult scenes where whatever it may be, you really, in order for it to be authentic and truthful and connected, you have to really go there as best as you can. So yeah, it can be difficult. I mean, it's something that where you really have to go there. Some of the scenes in Clannad, you have to call down deep and figure out how to be there, and so it can be emotional. It can be and on the flip side, when you're doing a scene where someone loses their mind, I just worked on something that you're thinking of that scene, but something that I can't talk about the title, but for 2 episodes, this guy is going through this sort of transformation, and he's kind of slowly dying, and you're not sure what's going on. And we literally had to schedule a whole day where we take major breaks so that vocally we'd be able to continue doing it, but also just, the scene never leaves a certain location for 2 whole episodes. And it's, so yeah, things like that, you really have to emotionally prepare for it, and you can lose your mind a little bit.
I have the total antithesis answer to this, unfortunately. And the cool thing about that is no 2 actors approach something the same way. Whatever works is what's important. I don't ever cry when I'm actually working on something. I think the only exception was Chrono Crusade, because I had only just seen the last scene before I recorded it, so I was still just a mess. It had nothing to do with the acting. I was just all ripped up because I'd seen the scene. But it's neat to be a voice actor, because all I have to do is make the sounds of crying. And so I love to do that, and I'm not crying at all. And the funny thing is, David and I just did the Sayuki OVA, the Gaiden OVAs, and I cried the entire last episode, almost from start to finish. Never shed a tear once, but every time I watch it, I start crying before a scene starts. But it's just based on I'm watching it as a viewer. It's not important for me to sound right, because I might sound dumb when I cry, and it might not convey any emotion. So I make sure that it sounds like I'm crying, but I cry in real life later, I guess.
You do have a good point on that, because during Speedcraft, we had that point when I had to fall apart. And we did it in 2 takes, but there was so much technically going on with flat work and stuff like that I had to hit, and certain hitches in the breath had to hit at exactly the right time. I I couldn't afford to lose my focus on what I was doing. So in that point, you have to call up a lot of things that you do as an actor to pull that emotion up, but at the same time maintain your focus. The problem is, for me to do that, I nearly hyperventilated in the booth. And when we finished, Chris sees me holding onto the walls like this, and he goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he jumped out of his skin, and he's like, "I don't want to ask you to do it again." I said, "I can do it again if you want. I thought it sucked." And he's like, "Well, do this and this and this maybe." And I was like, "Okay." We did the whole scene again. Again, I'm holding onto the walls. He's like, "Chris, you again?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's hard to breathe. We'll never forget your look when I popped up, and you were like, "Oh, okay."
I've had actors pass out in the booth before. Sean Schemmel did the longest Kamehameha in history. And yeah, it was And when where's Sean? I don't see him in the window. Where's Sean? Fling open the door to the booth, and he's like in the corner, just, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'll get up, I'm ready. Like, no, you stay there, we'll give you some water. Yeah. So, yeah, when it had to happen, I was worried.
Hello.
Hello.
I was just wondering, you're all very talented voice actors.
Oh, thank you.
I was wondering if you had any other awesome talents that you'd like to share.
Awesome talents.
I play a lot of music, you know, when I'm not acting. So I sing and I play the drums, I play guitar and bass and stuff like that. So that's, I mean, and it's something that I love to do. And that was when I graduated from college. Before I graduated, that's sort of where my focus. When I graduated from NYU and I have a degree in acting, but I was like, I want to be a rock star instead. Because why not, right? That's a smart career path, you know. It's a growth industry and all that. But that's all I did for a while was just play music. So it's something I wish I could do more, but that is one of, I guess, my talents or interests outside of the acting is music.
I love photography. I'm a freelance photographer. Am I amazing? No, but I think I'm okay. I think I'm good. But what our other talents are, and I happen to love it, even if I'm not fantastic, even if I'm not amazing. I love it. I love as corny as it sounds, I love creating art that way. I love making people feel beautiful. I love making them, you know. I've shot Rachel a few times actually for headshots. What did you say? What? I missed it.
I said I have the bullet wounds to prove it.
Man.
No, she's a wonderful photographer, and actually some headshots that I've used for cons are courtesy of this one.
Oh, thank you. That's one of my talents. That's what I love to do. I am addicted to Lightroom 4. I'll admit it, I have a problem. I am. Talents, anybody? Any other talents?
If you hung around me much this weekend, you saw two of my other absolute passions. Stage combat has been a part of my life since I did Oliver at the age of 12. I am a stage combat junkie. I love working as a fight director. I love teaching stage combat. And then if any of you were at Anime Unscripted, one of my other real passions is improvisational comedy. I've run a couple of different companies. Monica's performed with us for a while. Greg's performed with us for a while. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Usually on my Kindle are at least 2 improvisational theory books. So yeah, that's for me.
I would say I DJ, but that's not a secret. So I guess my secret one is I'm a really good cook, and I love to cook really weird stuff. So
he's a really good cook. I've in the past couple years discovered that I have a knack for creating delicious cocktails.
And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you in the middle of creating drinks?
I am. I'm working on a series of cocktails based on BBC Sherlock. So 2 weeks ago I came up with a Study in Pink cocktail, and I just nailed down the Blind Banker cocktail.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Nice.
I'm a huge Sherlock fan, so awesome.
I will be having some of those cocktails.
I have a question. I have a question. Hi. I just want to say it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, great.
And I wanted to know, how do you become a voice actor?
my God, Micah, get out.
Get out, Micah Solasad.
He's hiding now.
I would come out there and beat you. And you know I'll do it.
Yeah, ride his little scooter.
That's right.
Let's
I'll
not
scooter out there,
Don't
and I will
know,
run
Micah,
over you.
just a second. See us all.
That's what you get.
That's what you get, Micah Solasad.
Is everybody awake now?
Can I get a head start?
Can
Run.
I just
Wait, Rachel's gonna answer.
I was just gonna say I'm a rodeo clown and a clog dancer in my spare time.
Really?
What?
Wow.
But it is the most dangerous job in the world, so there's something that kind of fascinates me. And I flew a plane for the first time last year. It was so cool! It wants to be in the air. I actually, for years I was a fine artist, and I still am, and I actually have a page on DeviantArt.
Oh my God, her paintings are absolutely amazing.
I paint, I draw, I sculpt, and my mother finally bought me pads. She's like, you don't have to draw on the wall, you know, there's other things for that. And I'm a classically trained pianist, although I haven't had access to a piano of any kind in a while. But yeah, that's what, everything that my brain conceives of is audiovisual. That's just kind of how it works. So I knew I was going to have to communicate in some way, but yeah. But I'm still gunning for rodeo clown.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Okay. Speed round.
This guy
We can
just
speed,
been
yeah.
waiting.
Okay, so make sure they're easy questions,
Make sure
guys.
they're easy questions
Yeah,
to
right
answer.
here, right here. Oh, no worries. I've just seen your hand up forever.
All right.
Kindly? Okay. What personally do you find to be your just straight up strangest roles or lines ever that just stick with you?
Juicy party, yay! Seriously, that's the strangest line I've ever had. Because it's completely out of context.
Oh, that's easy. I played Hitler in a Dragon Ball Z movie.
Why are you clapping? That's not a good thing!
And Hitler has still, to this day, one of the most offensive lines I've ever said. He's fighting he's fighting Goten and Trunks kids, and they power up to Super Saiyan, right? And he says, blonde hair, blue eyes, super strength. I should be recruiting them.
Yeah, now you're like, oh!
Yes.
I had a lot of bad lines in Gantz that I can't repeat. I'll say that probably some of the strangest lines I had was in a very underrated show that I still push called Papua that I love. And I play a Sia who has a love of jazz music. So when he fights, he goes, hey, baby, Scantex. And he has like these epic long 3 and 4 minute scat.
Yeah, that's gotta be it.
And I was like, oh, it's skinny bop. It's gotta be words.
Strange line, Rachel?
We're laughing down here because within about a 2-month stretch, I was not the voice of one penis, but 2 different penises in 2 different shows. And I don't know how that happened, but I'm Tomaki's talking weenie in Heaven's Lost Property, which is hysterical. He sounds like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors. And I think my favorite line there is when he goes, he's like, stop it, go away. And he goes, how about now? Horny now? And then right after that, I was the voice of the Wiener Spirit in Bigata HK. So yeah, there was a time in my life that I was just I can't say that word anyway.
Greg, I also played a talking dong recently in Gangstar Vegas, the video game that's coming out. Like Grand Theft Auto, when you're driving around, you hear the radio station and all the commercials, and there's a commercial for a new cop show, where it's about a cop and his new partner is his penis. And it's sort of like a Harvey Fierstein thing, and he's, so yeah.
I don't really have anything after talking penises. I mean, it's now one of my goals to figure out how to play a talking penis. So,
We're talking about boobs, penises, what else?
Okay. We have time for one more lightning round question. And okay, I guess I'm picking. All right,
Pressure's on you, Joe. We've been picking people all weekend. Pressure's on you.
Okay. Who has a quick question? We're talking quick. Anyone? All right, you.
I have a question for Monica Rail.
Well, last question for everybody. I'm going have a question for everybody.
Gotta be for everybody, sorry. All right, anyone? Okay, you.
And it's real.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Do any of you get freaked out, especially early on in your career, just watching your works and saying, hey, do I really sound like that?
Oh my god. I tell everybody, just real quick, I tell everybody that in my head I sound like Colleen Clinkenbeard, because I do. I sound sexy in my head. I know that's not what you hear. I've gotten adjusted to hearing it come out of character voices, but whenever I hear a commentary or somebody plays a video or something, I am mortified.
See, but we love her voice, though. We love Monica's voice. I absolutely adore it.
But it does take a while to get used to hearing yourself on tape.
Yeah, it does.
It helps when you get used to it though, because then you know what you're gonna sound like when you do a thing. And I never really had that problem when I was a kid. When I was like 9, 10 years old, I used to make radio shows at home with friends. A friend of mine who lived down the street, and we would play all these different characters and record it. So I've been playing at that since I was a kid. So by the time I started doing it professionally, I actually had a really good idea of what I sounded like when I did it. So.
Yeah, it's always been a thing to me that it weirds me out. That someone once said to me, like, you know, you can't ever really hear how you actually sound, you know, when you're speaking. So you think you sound a certain way. It's like if you tried to play a trombone, but you tried to play it from inside the trombone, you'd never be able to hear what that actually sounds like. And so, yeah, that's why I think I like voice work, because lately I've been asked a lot to lay down in a deeper place, lay on my chords, gravelly stuff like that. But when I'm asked to, especially if I'm doing, you know, like a commercial voiceover audition, and I'm just asked to really just my own voice, there's still, even after years of hearing it, it's still like, really? That's how I sound? That's embarrassing.
All right, well, let's give a round of applause. Come on! All right, guys, thank you all for coming. We'll see you at closing ceremony.